Sweetheart, people say time heals everything. But what they don't tell you is, sometimes time doesn't heal, it erases. It erases faces, voices, even the laughter you once knew by heart. My name's Margaret, but everyone used to call me Maggie. I'm 78 now, sitting here in this quiet little room in Ohio, where the clock ticks louder than my phone ever rings. I can hear it right now, tick, 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 as if time itself is mocking me. Because once, I used to wait for that ring every year. Every single year. My daughter Lily. She used to call me every birthday. When she was a little girl, she'd sneak into my room early morning with pancakes shaped like hearts and that messy hair of hers bouncing all over the place. She'd whisper, "Happy birthday, Mommy," and kiss my cheek like it was her life's mission. And I'd laugh and tell her, "You'll never forget this day, huh?" She promised me she never would. But promises, my dear, they're fragile things. They don't always survive adulthood. The first year she forgot, I told myself she was busy. The second year I said she probably just mixed up the date. By the fifth, I stopped making excuses. And by the 10th I stopped hoping. Do you know what silence feels like on your birthday? Feels like standing in a crowded room where no one sees you. You exist but you're invisible. You breathe but nobody notices. I'd make a little cake for myself every year. Just a small one. Vanilla with strawberries. I'd light one candle, close my eyes, and still wish for her to call. But the phone never rang. Not once. I kept her photos on my bedside table. Her graduation, her wedding, even her first baby shower. She looked so happy in all of them. But I wasn't in any of those pictures. She stopped inviting me after her marriage. Said I made her husband uncomfortable because I talked too much about the past. Tell me something, darling. Do you think it's wrong for a mother to remember? Should I have stayed quiet and let those memories die? That's my question for you, sweetheart. Think about it. Because one day you might be on my side of the story. Anyway, I'll never forget that 10th birthday. The one that changed everything. I woke up that morning with the same hope I had every year, that maybe she'd remember this time. I put on my red dress, the one I wore to her wedding. It still fit, though it hung a little loose now. I brushed my silver hair, set the table for two, and made pancakes shaped like hearts. Just like she used to. The sunlight came through the curtains, warm and golden. The birds outside were singing. Mocking me, I swear. Singing like they had something to celebrate. And me. I sat there staring at the phone. 10 a.m. 11 a.m. No call. By noon my heart started to ache. Not in that poetic way, but the real kind of pain that makes your chest heavy and your throat burn. I thought maybe she's on her lunch break. By 2 p.m. I told myself she'll call when she gets home. By 6 p.m. I stopped pretending. The candle melted down to nothing. Pancakes got cold. And I just sat there whispering to myself, "Happy birthday, Maggie." Then, something strange happened. I don't know if it was fate or cruelty, but the doorbell rang around 7 p.m. Froze. My heart jumped. For a second I thought, it's her. I rushed to the door, fixed my hair, wiped my eyes, and opened it with a trembling smile. But it wasn't Lily. It was a delivery boy, young, polite, holding a bouquet of lilies. There was a note tied to it. My heart fluttered. I opened it slowly. And it read, "Happy birthday, Mom. I'm sorry I can't call. Things are complicated. Hope this helps. Lily. Hope this helps." Like love could be sent through a florist. I held those flowers all night. I didn't even put them in water. I wanted them to die like the connection between us already had. You know what's funny? I still smiled through my tears. Because even that small note meant she remembered. Even if she couldn't say the words, she remembered. But something inside me cracked that night. It wasn't anger, it was emptiness. Like I had been waiting on a train platform for 10 years. And the train finally arrived, but it was empty. And that's when I decided I wouldn't wait anymore. The next morning I took out all her letters, her old drawings, her childhood notes, and I packed them away. I told myself I'd stop living in memories. But you know how life works, darling. The moment you let go, life finds a way to pull you back. 'Cause 2 weeks later my phone finally rang. And it was her. Her voice trembled. "Mom, I need your help." My breath stopped. After 10 years of silence, those were her first words. I remember whispering, "Lily, is that really you?" She said, "Please, Mom. I don't know who else to call." And right there, my heart, that tired, forgotten, broken heart, started beating fast again. But I had no idea that this call was the beginning of the end. Tell me, my dear, if someone forgot you for 10 years and suddenly needed you, would you still pick up the phone? Would you help them? 'Cause I did. And I'm still not sure if I made the right choice. I remember my hand trembling as I held the phone that day. 10 years of silence. And suddenly her voice was back in my ear. It didn't sound the same though. Her tone was cracked, breathless, like she had swallowed years of guilt and didn't know how to speak it. "Mom, I didn't know who else to call," she said. And I just sat there, clutching the receiver, afraid that if I blinked, she'd disappear again. Her voice, it pulled me back through time. Back to the sound of her laughter, the way she used to hum while cooking. But beneath all that, there was fear. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I asked softly. There was silence, then a shaky breath. "Mom, it's Emily, my daughter, your granddaughter. She's sick." Those words hit me harder than any insult ever could. My granddaughter, the one I'd never met, never held, never heard cry, she was sick. "She's only 8, Lily continued. "The doctors said she needs a bone marrow transplant. They've tested everyone in the family. No match. They said, maybe you could be." For a moment I forgot how to breathe. You know that feeling when your whole life stops moving, like the world suddenly freezes and waits for your answer? That's what it felt like. I whispered, "You want me to be tested?" "Yes, Mom. Please," she said, her voice cracking. "I know I've been awful. I know I don't deserve to ask, but Emily doesn't deserve to suffer. I'm begging you." I wish I could tell you I hesitated, that I made her wait, made her feel what I felt all those birthdays she forgot. But the truth is, I didn't. Because when you're a mother, even when your heart's been broken, that love never dies. It just hides under the scars, waiting for a reason to wake up. "When do you need me?" I asked. Her breath caught. "You'll do it." "I'll do anything for her," I said quietly. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching the moonlight fall across my old photo albums. Lily at 5 years old with chocolate all over her face. Lily at 16 holding her diploma. Lily walking away from me at her wedding. 10 years of silence, erased by a single call for help. I should have been angry. I should have felt used. But all I could think about was that little girl, Emily. My granddaughter. My blood. The next morning I packed my bag. I put on my best coat, the gray one with pearl buttons, and caught the early train to Chicago. It had been 10 years since I'd last seen my daughter. 10 years since I'd heard her say, "Mom," in person. When I got to the hospital, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked older, thinner, paler. Her eyes had lost that spark I remembered. And yet when she saw me, she froze. For a second we just stared at each other. Then she whispered, "Mom." And I smiled, tears burning my eyes. "Hello, Lily." We didn't hug right away. There was too much history standing between us. But then from behind her a soft voice said, "Mommy, who's that lady?" And that's when I saw her. Emily. My granddaughter. She was lying in a hospital bed, pale but smiling faintly. Her eyes. Oh, those eyes. They were the same hazel shade Lily had as a child. I walked closer, my voice trembling. "Hi there, sweetheart." She tilted her head, curious. "Are you Grandma Maggie?" Froze. "You know my name." She grinned weakly. "Mommy told me about you last night. She said you make the best pancakes." I couldn't stop the tears then. I sat beside her, took her tiny hand in mine, and for the first time in years, I felt like I belonged somewhere again. The doctor came in and explained the process. They'd run some tests first. If I was a match, we'd move forward with the transplant. I nodded, signing the forms without a second thought. Lily stood by the window, arms crossed. "Mom, I know this is a lot to ask," she said quietly. "I don't know how to make up for everything I did." I looked at her, really looked at her. "You can start by being honest, Lily. Why didn't you call me all these years?" Her lips quivered. "Because I was ashamed." "Of what?" "Of how I treated you," she whispered. "After Dad died, I blamed you for everything. For being sad, for being lonely, for not moving on. I wanted a life that wasn't heavy. I cut you out." There it was, the truth. Simple, cruel, and honest. I just nodded slowly. "You thought forgetting me would make life easier." She nodded, tears falling. "It did. For a while. Until Emily got sick. Then I realized I'd forgotten the one person who would have helped me without question. And she was right. Would have. Always." The next day the test results came back. I was a perfect match. Lily broke down crying. "Mom, I don't deserve this." I smiled faintly. "You don't have to. You're my daughter. That's enough." But deep inside something uneasy stirred. Because as I signed the consent papers, I noticed her hands shaking, not from fear but from guilt. There was something she wasn't telling me. That night, as I lay on the stiff hospital bed, I kept hearing her words echoing in my head. "I don't deserve this." And for the first time I wondered if this call was really about love. Or just desperation. Voice low and trembling. "Tell me, my dear. If someone broke your heart for 10 long years, would you still give them your blood to save their child? Would you risk everything? For someone who forgot you existed?" 'Cause I did. And that decision, it changed everything. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. I remember lying there in that bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to keep my mind from drifting to dark places. It was funny. I wasn't scared for myself. I was scared for Emily. That little girl had barely started living, and yet she already knew more about pain than most adults ever will. The nurses were kind. They called me sweetheart, tucked me in like I was their grandmother too. But Lily, she barely met my eyes. Every time I looked at her, she seemed lost somewhere, drowning in thoughts she couldn't say out loud. The night before the procedure, I couldn't sleep. The beeping of machines echoed softly in the dark, and I could see the faint glow of the city lights through the window. That's when Lily came in, holding a paper cup of coffee. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. I smiled faintly. "You know me. My mind's too noisy these days." She sat down beside me, her eyes red from crying. "Mom, I need to tell you something before tomorrow." I turned to her. "What is it, sweetheart?" She hesitated, her lips trembling as if the words were burning on the way out. Then she said it. "Emily doesn't know who you are. She thinks you're just a nice lady who's helping." I blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Lily's voice cracked, "I never told her you were my mother." The silence that followed was heavier than anything I'd ever felt. 10 years of loneliness. And now, even my granddaughter didn't know I existed. I could feel my throat tightening, but I forced a smile. "Well," I whispered, "you always were good at keeping secrets." She reached for my hand. "Mom, please don't hate me." I was ashamed. I didn't want her to ask why we weren't close. I thought I'd tell her someday. I pulled my hand away gently. "Someday, Lily. You've had 10 years of somedays." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm sorry." I nodded slowly. "Sorry doesn't heal a hole that deep, honey." We sat there in silence. The only sound was the steady beeping of the heart monitor beside me. And then, without meaning to, I whispered, "Do you remember what day it is tomorrow?" She frowned. "Tomorrow?" I smiled sadly. "It's my birthday." Her lips parted in shock. "Oh my God. Mom, I didn't." "It's all right," I interrupted softly. "You haven't remembered for 10 years. Why start now?" She broke down crying, hiding her face in her hands. And even then I couldn't hate her. Because the truth is, darling, no matter how many times your children hurt you, your heart always finds a way to forgive. When morning came, they prepped me for the bone marrow procedure. The doctor explained it all, but I barely listened. My eyes stayed on Emily through the glass window of her room. She looked so fragile, yet somehow full of light. Before they wheeled me away, she waved at me and whispered, "Good luck, Miss Maggie." And I smiled, even though she didn't know she was waving at her grandmother. The procedure went well. Painful, yes, but successful. The doctor said Emily's chances were now strong, that my marrow could save her life. It should have been a moment of joy. But something still felt unfinished. A few days later, I was recovering in my room when I overheard two nurses talking in the hallway. "Poor thing," one said. "Can you believe her own daughter didn't even stay with her through the night?" The other nurse sighed. "Yeah. And now that she's a match, they say the family's moving her to a different facility. Probably don't want the hospital bill under their name." My heart stopped moving me. I waited until the nurses left. Then I picked up my phone, the same old phone that never rang for 10 years, and called the front desk. "Excuse me," I asked softly. "Is my daughter arranging for my discharge?" The lady hesitated. "Yes, ma'am. There's paperwork being processed. You're being transferred to a senior care facility after tomorrow." A senior care facility. Not home. Not with her. So that was it. She wanted my help. My blood. My bone. But not me. I hung up the phone slowly, my chest tightening. For years I had begged for one call, one visit, one reason to feel seen. And now I realized, she hadn't come back because she missed me. She came back because she needed me. That night I stared at my reflection in the mirror. The wrinkles, the tired eyes, the scars of motherhood. And I whispered, was I really just useless until now? But then there was a knock. A soft, gentle knock on my door. When I said, "Come in," a small face peeked through. Emily. She walked in slowly, holding a paper card covered in glitter and stickers. "Hi, Miss Maggie," she said shyly. "I made you something." I smiled through my tears. "You did." She nodded proudly and handed me the card. On the front, in messy handwriting, it said, "Thank you for saving my life." Inside there was a crayon drawing, me and her holding hands under a big yellow sun. And under it she had written, "I wish you were my grandma." I couldn't speak. My heart just broke open right there. Not from pain this time, but from something softer. "Oh." I hugged her gently, trying not to cry. "Oh, sweetheart," I whispered. "You have no idea how much that means to me." She smiled up at me. "Mommy said you're going away tomorrow. Can I come visit you?" Froze. "What did you say?" "Mommy said they're moving you to a new place. But I don't want you to go." My hands shook as I stroked her hair. Maybe you can visit me someday, okay?" She nodded, but her eyes looked sad, like she already knew that someday never comes. When she left, I sat there staring at that card for hours. And that's when I made a decision. If Lily didn't want me in her life, that was fine. But Emily deserved to know the truth. She deserved to know that the woman who gave her life back was her grandmother. That night, I sat awake for hours with Emily's card pressed against my chest. Outside my window, the city slept. But inside me, everything was awake. Every memory, every ache, every piece of love I'd tried to bury. I thought about the years I'd lost, the birthdays forgotten, the laughter stolen by silence. And I thought about that little girl, the only one who made me feel alive again. By dawn, I knew what I had to do. If Lily wanted to erase me from her story, then fine. But I wouldn't let my granddaughter grow up not knowing who I was, not knowing that she was loved long before she was even born. When morning came, I slipped out of bed and shuffled down the hall toward Emily's room. My legs were weak, but my heart, it felt strong for the first time in years. She was awake, coloring on her bed. When she saw me, her face lit up. "Miss Maggie, you came back." Smiled. "I wanted to see you before I go, sweetheart." She frowned. "You don't have to go. Mommy said you're still tired." I took a deep breath, sat beside her, and gently held her hand. Emily, I want to tell you a little story, okay? It's about a woman who loved someone very, very much. Her eyes widened, she loved stories. Did the woman have a name? I smiled softly. Her name was Maggie. And so I began. I told her about a mother who had a daughter named Lily. About how they used to bake pancakes on birthdays, and laugh until their stomachs hurt. And how, as time went on, the daughter grew up and forgot her mother. Emily listened quietly, her eyes shimmering. Did the mother stop loving her? She whispered. Never, I said, tears slipping down my cheeks. Even when her daughter forgot her, she still loved her more than anything in the world. I paused, then added softly. And one day, that mother met a little girl, who didn't know she was her granddaughter. Emily blinked, her crayon dropping to the floor. Her lips trembled. Wait. You mean me? I nodded slowly. Yes, sweetheart. I'm not just Miss Maggie. I'm your grandma. She stared at me for a long moment, and then, without a word, she threw her tiny arms around my neck. I knew it, she sobbed. I knew you felt like family. I held her tightly, my heart breaking and healing at the same time. It was the most beautiful moment of my life. And in that moment I thought maybe, just maybe, things could finally be okay. But peace never lasts long when the truth comes out. Because when Lily walked in and saw us, her face went white as a sheet. What did you tell her? She hissed. Turned slowly. The truth. Her voice shook with anger. You had no right. I had every right, I interrupted, my voice suddenly stronger than it had been in years. I gave you life, Lily. And I just gave her another chance at it. You wanted to erase me, but I'm done being erased. Emily clutched my arm. Mommy, please don't be mad. Grandma just wanted me to know her. But Lily's eyes filled with tears. You don't understand, Emily. She left me when I was young. Gasped. Left you? Lily, that's not true. She glared at me. You did, Mom. You hid from me after Dad died. You shut everyone out. I begged for your attention, and all you gave me was sadness. Her words cut deep, deeper than I expected. Because in that moment I saw the truth too. Maybe I hadn't been perfect. Maybe my grief had turned into walls instead of hugs. Tears filled my eyes. You're right, I whispered. I was broken, but I never stopped loving you. You walked away before I could find the words to say it. Lily turned away, crying silently. For a long time no one spoke. The only sound was Emily's soft sniffles between us. Then she climbed off the bed and stood between us, her little hands on both our arms. Stop fighting, she said through her tears. Please. I don't want to lose both of you. And just like that, the walls between us cracked. Because hearing it from her, from that tiny voice, made everything else seem so small. Lily knelt down, hugging Emily tightly. Then she looked at me. Mom, I don't know how to fix us. I smiled weakly. Start with today. Don't wait for someday. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. And for the first time in 10 years she whispered, Happy birthday, Mom. That broke me. Not in pain but in the sweetest kind of way. She remembered. After all this time, she remembered. We all cried then. All 3 generations, tangled in tears, apologies and love. Weeks passed. Emily's condition improved. The doctors called her recovery a miracle. Lily started visiting me more often. Sometimes with Emily, sometimes alone. We still had wounds, still had distance. But something had shifted. Something real. Months later, I sat in my little chair by the window again. Only this time I wasn't alone. Emily sat on the floor, drawing another picture. Me, her, and Lily holding hands. She looked up at me and said, Grandma, when I grow up, I'll never forget your birthday. Smiled. You promise? She nodded, her eyes full of light. Pinky promise. And right there I realized something beautiful. Love doesn't always come when you want it. Sometimes it takes years of silence, 1,000 broken moments, and a little child's voice to remind you why you kept believing in it. So, my dear, If you're watching this, remember, no matter how long someone forgets you, love never dies. It just waits quietly for the day it's remembered again. And that's the day you finally remember yourself too.